What if I told you that with just 10 Ether today, you could build a passive income stream of over $1,800 per month in just 10 years? Yep, it's true. And in this video, I'm going to show you this incredible ETH staking strategy that can help you achieve your passive income goal. Now, this strategy is easy to implement, but it requires incredible consistency and there's no shortcuts. So if you really want to make that $1,800 per month a reality, then you're gonna have to watch this video and follow it closely. Now in just a minute, I'm gonna pull out this beast of a spreadsheet and walk you through all the numbers and calculations I did. But first, let's take a big step back and start with the what and the why. The what is simple, right? It's staking. This is where you lock up some crypto coins to help support the operation of a blockchain. By staking your coins, you can earn a chance to validate new transactions and add blocks to the blockchain. And when you do so, the network rewards you with more coins for your services. But Kevin, there are a bunch of different coins that we can stake. So which one should we go with? Well, that's a great question because you don't just want to choose any random coin that gives you the highest yield. The one you choose is super important to the success of our strategy. That's why in this video, we are only focused on staking ETH because Ethereum is the most proven smart contract platform out there. It generates a ton of fees, which is great for stakers by the way, and it's also way less likely to go to zero than its competitors. Anyways, that's the what, but what about the why? Well, the why is passive income, right? And staking is actually quite similar to something in traditional finance called dividends, where investors buy stocks and earn constant yield without ever having to sell a single share. Just take Warren Buffett, for example. He bought $1.3 billion worth of Coca-Cola shares back in 1994. And in 2022, through the power of compounding, that investment is now bringing him over $700 million annually without him ever having to sell a single share. Pretty incredible, right? Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Kevin, I don't have 1.3 billion to buy with. I don't want to wait 28 years for the strategy to pay off. And I don't want to deal with all that old school traditional finance stuff. Well, fortunately, you don't have to because you can do a very similar strategy in the crypto world with staking. And it can arguably get you to your monthly income goal even faster. So how does this work, right? Well, in just a minute, I'm going to show you that spreadsheet where I did all the calculations to make our strategy work. But before we can even do those calculations, I had to make some important assumptions that you should know of. First, I got that $1,800 per month number by starting off with a goal of $1,500 per month, which is roughly an average country's cost of living in 2023. But remember, we're talking about a 10-year period to do our strategy, right? So that $1,500 has to be adjusted for inflation. And that's how we ended up with $1,800 as our final 10-year target. Anyways, my second assumption is that the ETH staking APR is sustainable long-term and won't drop drastically for whatever reason. Third, I assume a somewhat conservative estimate for ETH's annual growth rate at around 29% a year. That number was chosen by pegging ETH to Bitcoin at a certain ratio and then projecting out Bitcoin's price via its famous log regression chart. Honestly, I don't think 29% is that crazy of a growth rate, considering how we've seen ETH do like 1000% in bull markets, and this annual rate just smooths out its returns across bull and bear markets alike. And in 10 years, this gets us to a price of around $21,000 per Ether, which may seem high right now, but this is 10 years we're talking about. So as long as Ethereum continues to grow and find more adoption, I don't think that's unreasonable at all. Anyways, fourth, we won't take into account taxes for our calculations, as that varies from country to country as far as how it's applied. And fifth, I assume that ETH stays relatively deflationary over the long haul and nothing major changes in terms of its supply side dynamics. Alright, so those were my assumptions. Now let's move on. When I was making this video, ETH was around 1700, so let's just go with that in our calculation. And the staking APR is 4.2%, so we'll go with that as well. If we stake 10 ETH today, then that gets us 0.42 ETH per year in staking rewards, which is around $714. But that's honestly super low, and it's nowhere near the $1,800 per month target that we're shooting for, even though we're starting off with 10 whole ETH. So does that mean we're screwed and should just give up? Well, no, we shouldn't, because we have two special tricks to help us out. One, the power of compounding, and two, adding to our stack via dollar cost averaging. With those two tricks, we can hit $1,800 per month. And to show you how, let's turn to our handy dandy spreadsheet. Okay, so this is our spreadsheet, and this first section is all the variables that if we change, it affects the bottom calculations and numbers. So this is a pretty spiffy spreadsheet. Anyways, we put stuff in there like the annual inflation rate, monthly ETH growth rate. Remember, ours is like 29.05%, but this is calculated to be monthly. And then the staking yield, which varies, but this is at the time of shooting this video. And then that converted to the compounding rate, converted to monthly, our monthly income target, which is 1,500, remember, times 12, yearly income target, price of ETH on day one, average monthly wages. We even calculate wage growth, and then our DCA, dollar cost average amount, is 10% of this, and then we start with 10 ETH. Now, this is where we have all the calculations, right? And we have it month by month, so you can see how the income target has minor inflation from month to month, how the value of ETH goes up due to that average growth rate. Our DCA goes up due to wage growth as well. And then this is our running ETH balance, right? There's interest from month one, and then our dollar cost average comes in, and then it just keeps on compounding. And this is that converted to be a dollar amount. And this bottom one is important because this is the difference between our interest earned and our monthly income target. Remember, the goal is for this interest earned from ETH staking to cover our entire cost of living monthly target. Anyways, this is broken down by month, but I can also collapse it to show you how that grows from year to year. And then over here, September 2033, 10 years later, it's actually 10 years and 3 months in December 2033 when we finally get in the positive and we exceed our monthly income target with our value of ETH interest earned. But here is where the powerful part is, okay? Because let's say that we stop our monthly contribution, so no more dollar cost average, but this is where the power of compounding interest comes into play. Because if we just go purely based on our ETH stack and interest earned from that, it gets us way more. Just 5 years later in September 2038, it gets us 4,000 in ETH interest per month. So that grows rapidly 5 years later with no additional capital added. So that's really powerful. And this whole ETH staking strategy is powerful, which is why I'm personally going to be implementing it as well. Okay, so if you're interested in staking ETH, then the next step is to decide where and how to stake your ETH. And there's really 4 main ways to do so. The first way is to stake by yourself, or solo stake. In this case, you would need 32 ETH as well as your own validator setup. Now, this option does give you the most control, but it is very capital intensive, and it also requires an immense amount of technical know-how, so I don't really recommend it. The second way is to work with a third-party service that runs the validator for you, so all you need to do is bring the capital, aka 32 ETH, to get started. The third way is to go even more centralized and stake on an exchange. The benefit here is that it's probably the easiest way to do so, and you can stake any amount. You don't have to bring 32 ETH, but they also take a bigger cut of the rewards, so that messes up our math, and you'd also have to store your coins on the exchange, which has a chance of getting hacked or going bankrupt. Anyways, the fourth way is to go with a liquid staking protocol. For this, you send ETH to some smart contract, and they give you their liquid staking token in return. You can then use that across most DeFi protocols as if it were ETH itself, but the best part is that you can accrue rewards just by holding that token. Some of them let you compound as well. So out of those 4 options, I recommend going with the liquid staking protocols, and be sure to use them on the Ethereum layer 2 networks like Arbitrum or Optimism to minimize gas fees. The key is to use a protocol that will let you compound your rewards, like Lido Finance, and I'm sure some of its competitors do as well. But that's super important to double check, as compounding is key to hitting our passive income goal of $1,800 per month after 10 years. Anyways, it wouldn't be fair for me to just mention the benefits of this strategy and not the risks. So let's examine some of the potential downsides too. First, we all know APRs can fluctuate, so I'm not sure how long the 4.2% will last for ETH staking, and that could mess with our calculations a bit. Second, we're making quite a big assumption that inflation will drop back down to normal levels and stay there. If it doesn't, then we'll need to make up the difference somehow, either by adding more to our monthly contribution or praying that ETH grows at a faster average rate than 29% per year. And then third, you just gotta be aware of the different risks that apply to staking, like there's slashing and validator penalties that could reduce the amount of staking rewards you earn. And then there's also custodial risks too, like if you use a centralized exchange that gets hacked, or a DeFi protocol that gets their smart contract exploited. So yeah, just keep those in mind. Anyways, let me know if you have any questions about this strategy or want to see the spreadsheet for yourself. Personally, I'm stacking as much ETH as possible anyways, so that's why I like this strategy so much. Oh, and if you're wondering why I love ETH so much, then just watch this video right here.